Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our weekly live question and answer series where we look to questions from you in the audience, and I'll ask Dr. Ellithorpe those questions. Any and all health-related questions are fair game, so I encourage you to post those questions in the chat section over to the side right here. And you do need to be logged into YouTube to be able to do that. You can also email your questions into us, office@tlcdoctors.com. That's office@tlcdoctors.com. Please make sure that in the subject line you put something along the lines of YouTube question, because we do get a lot of email to that email address, and we need to know what questions to send where. So, how are you doing today, Dr. Ellithorpe?
I am blessed. Thank you, Talon. How are you?
I'm pretty good as well, too. Well, I see that we have some questions already kind of piling in on the chat, and I have some emailed ones in right here. Why don't we start with the chat, and then I'll hop over to some email questions.
All right.
Debbie says, "Hi, Dr. Rita. I accidentally bought farm-raised fish. Is there more harm than good in farm-raised? Should I throw it away? Thank you."
Yeah, farm-raised fish tend to have many features that are deficient in them. They are raised on foreign foods. Normally, they're fed corn or grains. So you are what you're eating has eaten is this phrase, you know, whatever it has eaten. So if you're corn sensitive, and it's one of the big sensitivities, these farmed raised fish are not the source for it. Plus, they are in a very dense packaging, you might say, when they raise them, and they tend to have infections, and so then they put in antibiotics. And so it goes. So it's absolutely abnormal, and I really wouldn't eat them. So yeah, throw it away.
Okay. Diana asked, "Hi, Dr. Rita. I'm a patient and have COVID the last few days. When I'm on the mend, I'd like to come in for an IV. Which do you recommend?"
Well, I would do the high-dose vitamin C immune drip, okay? So that's got a lot of, we designed it to boost your whole immune system. So there's selenium and zinc and these trace minerals and high-dose vitamin C and the B vitamins and such. So ask for the immune drip, the vitamin C. 25,
and that's the 25 gram.
25 gram,
okay.
Yeah.
Great. All right, let's hop into some questions that were emailed in here. We have one here from Natalia, and Natalia asks, "What would be the strongest anti-inflammatory substance when a person with the flu gets very strong muscle joint pains and tightness?" Well,
the most anti-inflammatory response is to do three things all at once. Take the Vitalzyme, the systemic enzymes, and take like 5 3 times a day during the height of all the achiness and so forth. Use half your weight in water plus 10% more. So if you're a 200-pound man, then you take 100 ounces plus 10 ounces more, so lots of water. And then fast. Fasting is one of the most anti-inflammatory things you can do. So if you would just go on chicken broth or beef broth, you'll do quite well with those three things. There's a fourth thing that you can do, and for the achiness, and that is to take a high-dose vitamin C or a magnesium drip. Magnesium will actually relax all that muscle ache.
Okay, and how to improve liver function, non-alcoholic fatty liver, and is it possible to get rid? Well, that's another question. Well, let's start right there. How to improve liver function, non-alcoholic fatty liver?
It's caused by carbohydrates from our corrupt diet in the world here in America, Western eating. So if you went on a fast, that will heal it. If you went very, very low carb, a ketogenic type diet, that would heal it. So if you understand how to use YouTube, go to Dr. Lustig, Lustig, and he made a video called Sugar the Bitter Truth. Now that's an hour-long lecture, but I need you to watch it to see how sugars, especially fructose, which is hidden in almost everything we're eating in processed foods today, orange juice, and all the packaged foods, and this gets to the liver. And it promotes triglyceride production and storage of fat and messing up glycogen storage, and the hormones are messed up. so that you don't get fatty breakdown with lipase, lipolysis. So it's carbs. I sound like a broken record, but it is fructose and starchy carbohydrates that are being presented at such huge dosings, the liver is shocked. And it is a storage site for glycogen for backup emergency. But the way we're eating and the high fructose corn syrup volume is so high that it's messing up the enzymes, and that's what you have to do. Now, are there supplements that help? Yes, there are. So if you took alpha lipoic acid, we have a product called TLC Metabolic Formula. TLC Metabolic Formula has in it things that help burn that sugar down and help the liver clear it out. So if you took that TLC Metabolic Formula, that will help it. I guess that's the way to approach that one.
Okay. Is it possible to get rid of a gallstone 0.8 millimeters without surgery?
I have never seen it done, and I've been practicing about 40 years. 0.8 centimeters is...
Millimeters.
0.8 millimeters, so it's about a centimeter. So small stones are at a higher risk of getting stuck into the cystic duct for the gallbladder to excrete the bile to emulsify the fats. So that is something that has to be tracked. You should have a general surgeon who knows you and what the size of it is, and a repeat ultrasound to kind of track how it's looking. Because if that gets stuck in your cystic duct, you can get an infection, you could rupture, you could get septic and die. So it's no small thing. And the things that help this are enzymes and a low-carb diet, adequate water, exercise, not eating late at night. Those things are very helpful. But no, I've never seen it dissolve away.
No, okay. And just want to mention as well, too, because I think I forgot to mention earlier that we want to make sure that you are following up with your doctor and not just taking this information blindly as medical advice. We're here today to educate, to discuss, to learn together, and talk about how Dr. Althorp would approach your question if you're sitting in the office with her. But a doctor really needs the full picture on a patient, so you've got to have a relationship with a doctor. Okay, we have a question that came in the chat from Carol. She says, I can't take melatonin, makes me too drowsy all day. What's my alternative?
Maybe you could try some 5-hydroxytryptophan.
5-HTP.
You could try a rich dose of magnesium. We have the powdered OptiMag Neuro. You could try eliminating anything that has green tea in it, coffee, stimulants. Don't eat late at night. You could exercise. You could drink adequate amount of water. You could be on natural hormones. Progesterone helps. If you're using progesterone, you could double your progesterone easily. That's a natural hypnagogic. Valerian root and passion flower herbs are calming. So there's all manner of things that you can do to help yourself sleep outside of melatonin.
Right. Okay. We used to carry something called TLC Calm. That was the TLC Goodnight, just minus the melatonin.
Right. Right.
I wonder if we still have that.
Yes, I think we do as well. Okay. So it has those things in it.
Deborah asks, are there any side effects from taking Dehyst quercetin? How many milligrams can you safely take for children and adults?
Well, it's an herb. It's quite safe. And so I don't know of any side effects. I've been using Orthomolecular's Dehyst quercetin rich. There's 200 milligrams per capsule. I've never had anyone in all these years have a problem. So if an adult is using 600 to 800 milligrams a day, then I would cut that in half for a child 40 pounds to 80 pounds, you know. And if they're under 40 pounds, then I would cut that still in half to just, 200 milligrams, you know. And you could mix that into the unsweetened applesauce for toddlers. So it's very safe.
Okay.
I don't know of any side effects.
Here's a question that was emailed into us from Patricia, and she says that my dear friend who was in excellent health at age 65, no health problems, and very good cardiovascular shape, living a very active outdoor lifestyle, including hiking, dancing, started having symptoms of COVID on a Wednesday. He went to Kaiser's emergency room on Sunday and was given only an inhaler. The following Wednesday, he went to the hospital. His O2 level was 89%. He was admitted and placed on 94% O2. The following Sunday, I spoke with his hospitalist who was fresh out of medical school, asking him to be on many of the things. So she was asking the doctor for him to be on many of the things on the Math Plus protocol by FLCCC.net. The doctor said that the vitamins would not help, but agreed to place him on some at my insistence. He did not agree to anything else. The doctor placed him on vitamin D 1000 IU, that's a very low dose, zinc, vitamin C 500 milligrams, and a multivitamin, probably a Centrum. The hospital would not allow him to have the good quality vitamins I brought in still sealed for him. Almost a week later, his condition had not improved, and he asked the MD for ivermectin. He was denied. A week after that, he went into ICU for a mist tent. 5 days later, onto the ventilator, and was there for 2.5 weeks until he died. He was hospitalized for 6 weeks before he passed. My question is, would the ivermectin alone have helped my friend to survive this if given 2.5 weeks into the illness?
Yes, there are many studies out there. They're in a range of 64 now, of which probably 42 of them are double-blind studies. And the wonderful thing about ivermectin is that it worked in the early phase, mid, and in the late phases as well. So it had impact in all these dimensions. I didn't see the later phase impact of hydroxychloroquine as much. It was very valuable in the early and pre-inflammatory phases. So yes, ivermectin has been shown in the late stages to be very beneficial.
Okay, back to the chat. Are there... Nope, not that one. Why or what causes pancreatic cancer? Also, the doctor's bars would be a good food bar to help?
Well, what causes cancer is the $64,000 question. We believe chronic inflammation is the cause of cancer. With inflammation, there's all these alarm cytokine materials. Like everyone has learned that the cytokine storm from the COVID symptomology, COVID-19, can harm and inflame the tissues of the lung, and it becomes congested, thick, so oxygen transport is diminished. But chronic inflammation, if you're a smoker, if you have a chronic alcohol and irritation along the gut, chronic food allergies, chronic high strain on an organ from starch, carbs, sugars, chronic low-grade viral infections, post-trauma, that is recurrent trauma. All these things that irritate some side of the body is linked with very clearly this response to Sehealt, which has some cytokine inflammatory healthy components, but the intention is that it's to come to an end. But if it keeps on coming, like in the form of drinking toxic alcohol or smoking or an inactive lifestyle, not enough water, these areas in our body then become congested. The oxygen drops, okay? Fibrin and fibrous material become enveloped in the inflammatory response. So the tissue oxygenation and the mitochondria become choked. So they will spontaneously convert from oxygen metabolism to anaerobic without oxygen metabolism for survival. See, they think they're supposed to survive rather than, if you're choked off, die, you know. And then with that form of metabolic conversion, then you have this growth, okay? So something in the lifestyle of people who get pancreatic cancer, digestion, gas, and bloating. I mean, even colon cancer, you don't have many symptoms until they already find it. That is why we talk about drinking enough water, exercising on a regular basis, getting a good night's sleep, taking systemic enzymes to disinflame your body, and to take powerful research nutraceuticals, which we use here as the Juice Plus series because of its many studies on antioxidant protection. And that's how I would handle it. Now, in specific with pancreatic cancer, remember Dr. Gonzalez in New York had a series where high-dose enzyme usage really helped turn around these usually end-stage, poor prognosis pancreatic cancers. And he was hounded, and then he had to move to Virgin Islands or something like that, or the Puerto Rico, and there he continued his work. Now, this is many, many years ago. But enzymes are very important. As we all age, we lose enzymes. So I take 5 systemic enzymes in the morning on an empty stomach with my other vitamins. I take 5 in the evening before I go to bed. I drink my water. You know, I take my morning brisk walk for a half an hour, and with some hills and inclines. I do my Pilates, I take my Juice Plus, I take my D. I'm taking all these things and trying to be a very low-carb diet. I do fasting to really burn down the sugars and so to increase the oxygenation to all my tissues. But when I eat, I take digestive enzymes. So someone who has cancer has to incorporate all this activity in and alongside their oncological management with their oncologist to get the best outcome. So what causes it? Chronic inflammation. What promotes it? You know, the American Western diet and lazy lifestyle.
Okay. Doctor, can you recommend eye vitamins, lutein, and zeaxanthin? Or do you recommend eye vitamins such as lutein?
Yes, lutein and zeaxanthin are in Juice Plus. So this is one of the reasons why I use it. These are there are many different categories of antioxidants, and they have different features. Many categories in the whole metabolic world, biochemical world. Those are just some of them, okay? There's the resveratrol, anthocyanidin lines, of which zeaxanthin is one of them. But that's why all the colors of the fruits and vegetables are so valuable, because in Juice Plus we have all of the vegetable, the fruits, and the berries. And that synergy, see, we don't even understand the impact of synergy. So our knowledge of this is behind. I wish we would spend our time working on this rather than trying to do gene editing and recreate humans 2.0.
All right, next question is, I follow a low-carb intermittent fast, drink half weight in water, and eat doctor's bars. Last few days, I have hemorrhoid pain and hard stools. What should I do?
Well, the biggest thing with doctor's bars have 15 grams of fiber in it, and part of that is insoluble fibers. So that's one of the cures for constipation. You know, water is foundational, but minerals, when people use the doctor's bar and drink their water and they still have constipation, it's usually a mineral deficiency. So that's why we created a separate mineral called TLC Multimin. TLC Multimin, if you took that, maybe a double dose for 2-3 days with your water, with the fiber of a doctor's bar and a walk, then I think you'll see great success. So magnesium and many other minerals are very valuable in the peristalsis of moving things forward.
Right. Hi, Dr. Rita. I started to take Immune Protect, recommended when I got sick. Should I continue to take daily?
Well, you know, in general, I don't know who you are or what your comorbidities are. That was designed to carry you through an illness, for sure, of a viral illness. there's no harm in taking half the dose for another week or so afterwards, or staying on half the dose on a regular basis. It's a wonderful immune boosting product.
Right.
But it's fine also as a preventative. I don't know that you need all 5 capsules. The dose is 5. Maybe preventatively, you could take 2 a day. And then if you were to feel you're coming down with a cold, you could use it for any cold symptoms. But yes, it's a wonderful product.
Right. Yeah, I got a bottle as well too when we were going through cold and flu season, and when people in my circles were starting to get sick. I would take 5 a day, but then now I just make sure I take at least 1 or 2 of them a day just to use up the bottle and take it preventatively, because you're right, it does have a lot of great things in there. Okay, Guru. Hi, Dr. Rita. Can you explain why the PCR tests for COVID are not useful?
The polymerase chain reaction, reverse polymerase chain reactions are a sequencing assay that is used to get base pairs in DNA or the genetic coding. This was never intended for diagnosis of disease states. This was to try and figure out the construction of any part of the body or a molecule. When you take a serum sample or a tissue sample and you pulverize it and send it through this gene editing, you can see trace of any kind of molecular base pairs. You can't tell if this is, let's say you found part of a, E. coli for a urinary bladder infection or a colon gastroenteritis. What if you found base pairs of the common cold, because there's many families of the coronavirus, okay? It doesn't identify SARS-CoV-2 per se. It can identify a sequencing for a pattern, but it doesn't identify whether that's in an infectious stage. This could have been something very old. In fact, I have an article here that was put out January 10th, 2 days ago. And on this, an article was reviewed by Roman at Epoch Times. This is put out by Nature, January 10th. Cross-reactive memory T cells associated with protection against SARS-CoV-2 infection in COVID-19 contexts. What this is telling us is that your T cells can pick up from the common cold and prior colds. In fact, the people who had in 2002 and 3 the original SARS, they found that when they were exposed to the COVID-19, that they had natural immunity to it. So that was what, 17 years ago? So our immune system is absolutely fantastic, and we have great capabilities. This is not the only article. There have been many articles talking and reviewing, such as in Nature, that was just published about the T cell memory cells for the coronavirus or many other cold symptoms that we have, and they work cross in a way to help protect you, and that's the design. The PCR was designed by Carrie Mellis never to be used for diagnosis. It can't identify whether there's an active item or the count. Remember, they had the PCR count was set at 40 cycles. 40 cycles, you can pick up almost anything on the planet. The cycles really should have been 20. So they know it. They admitted it in July. The CDC retracted, so that shouldn't be used. They said they were going to stop December 31st. It's not a diagnostic tool.
What is the cycle that they're referring to?
Well, they amplify it, so they'll make a imaging through reverse transcriptase and amplify that, amplify. When you get much beyond 20, you're picking up noise, not a signal.
I see.
Okay, and no, it should never have been used, and so forth.
Okay. My friend has to go to the bathroom almost immediately after eating anything. She takes a ton of Imodium with each meal in order to stop this. What causes this and what can she do to help?
Well, it sounds like she has irritable bowel syndrome, and she needs to see her doctor. If she came to a functional doctor like us, we would do a complete digestive stool analysis to look at the predominant bacteria there, good bacteria, imbalanced bacteria, and dysbiotic bad bacteria. We'd look at her ability to digest meat fibers, vegetable fibers. We would look at inflammatory molecules. We probably would start by also doing a food allergy, because she may be eating something that is triggering that reaction with an allergic food reaction called a immunofood allergy test. That's an IgG, not an IgE. It's an IgG. So then we would ask her to go on basically a elimination diet, a very restrictive diet, and give her the healing things that help do that. We use the NT powder phospholipids. We use the SBI Protect that has the immunoglobulins that are associated with protecting your gut from infection, because we've got to give days for that to heal all those microvilli that are in the gut. We have to put probiotics in there, and then we have to give her essential fatty oils. We have clinician's preference. So with a very restricted diet, and then we have to, I like the product by Orthomolecular, most everything that they do is called Orthospore IG, and that is designed for irritable bowel, many healthy responses. So she should see her gastroenterologist, try and get a functional doctor along parallel to help work this out for her so she doesn't get inflamed to the point that she gets a worse problem.
Right. Okay, the next one says that my husband is probably COVID positive as he started with aches Sunday night, NOC, following FLCCC, no elevated temperature, but pulses in the 90s to 108, O2 sat is 94 to 99%, no shortness of breath, sounds clear, but coughing, pulse is regular. So there's not a question there, but they're following the FLCCC guidelines. That's
Sounds like it's good, yeah. But you know, if you had any cold, your pulse would be 94 to 108. If you had any cold, you would have a O2 maybe around 94 saturation. So we have to realize that the flu never did go away. It's always was here. And maybe they confounded it and hid it to raise the numbers that were claimed to be COVID, because now we're hearing them make yet another retraction about the count of the CDC deaths are probably certainly not the 800,000 that they said it was. So we have to all take a deep breath and realize that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. We have great abilities to resist this. And we're dealing with companies that have felony records. You know, would your parents let you date a guy who is a criminal, you know, with a felony record? Well, I'm not going to let my family or my children take something from a company with a felony record. And if you're found responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands in the Vioxx study with meds and many others, these multi-billion-dollar fines is how these big corporation pharmaceuticals get away with murder, and no one ever goes to jail. This is not right, and I don't trust them.
Okay, and that is all the time that we have for today.
Okay.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us. We're here as well, or I should say Dr. Ellthorpe is here on Monday evenings at 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. There tends to be a little bit longer time there available, so if you didn't get your question answered today, although I think we got all of the ones in the chat section, didn't get all the ones that were emailed in, so apologies for that. We always do our best to answer as many questions as possible. So tune in on Monday nights at 6 o'clock, and of course we'll be here next Wednesday at 9:45 a.m. Pacific. Until then, everybody, be well, and thanks for joining us.
God bless.
God bless.